We're pitching up a channel, bringing smiles to the world. We're hitting first base. Marty Lurie with friends. Home run, you know the ways and the trends, the stories all with the match of the block. It's Marty and friends. Marty and friends.
All right. I love it. I love the introduction. That is Ruby Barmay. Hey, guys, she wrote that herself and recorded that herself. And she's fabulous. 11th grader. How about that?
Really, 11th grade. I enjoyed it.
I love it. All right. All right. Look, this is Marty Lurie and Friends. It's YouTube. We love doing the shows. And we have two really good guests tonight, some real baseball people. One is Zack Minasian. Of course, he is the general manager. Yes, the general manager of the San Francisco Giants. And the other is, of course, Woe, who is the longest tenured coach in the history of the franchise, and now a special advisor to the president and everyone else who will listen to him. He's an advisor to anyone who will listen to him. And that's what Woe does. So it's great to have everyone with us. Zack, how are you?
I'm doing great here in Arizona and Scottsdale, going to the complex every day. And I love this time of year. So everything's off to a nice start here in Arizona.
Yeah, Zack and I are down here in Arizona. We actually have a little bit of rain today for the first time. And, Woe, you got any rain up there in the Bay Area?
Well, you know what? We had the most rain we've had all year today. I mean, it kept me up this evening, 3:30 to 5:30. It was a gully washer, Marty. It was terrible. So it's still raining now, but it was coming down hard.
Yeah, well, it's beautiful here, and it's just nice to be out at the ballpark. And Zack, I'll say this to you: your first spring as general manager. And Zack and I were talking about this the other day. You know, when I grew up, which wasn't that long ago, but the general manager was the guy. He was the guy who ran everything, and he was the one who made the trades and did all that kind of stuff. And Zack we'll learn more about his background, a true baseball guy. I'm glad he's the general manager. So, Zack, GM, are you an old-time GM?
People ask me if I'm old school or new school, and I use the line that I'm in school. So always just trying to learn. And look, when it comes to who the man is in the front office, our leader is Buster Posey. I think we all feel really fortunate that he's in the position that he's in. And it's been great to work with him day in and day out, really, in all facets of the organization. He's been great with me individually just to kind of give me some leeway when it comes to talking to teams, agents, our staff, everyone internally. So it's been a great partnership so far. And he's just allowed me to do the job, I think, the way it's titled. So I feel fortunate for that.
It's great to have you with us. Of course, the first question is, when are you and your brother going to do a trade already? Of course, your brother's general manager of the Angels.
Yeah, we've talked a couple times, different concepts, but very far away. So I think he's trying to take advantage of his little brother. I'm not going to let him do it. So
good for you, Zack.
But no, it's been interesting not only talking to him, but other people in the position with other clubs. And you can tell they're trying to feel us out and kind of what our philosophy is and be how aggressive we're going to be, what we're willing to do. And it's a learning process for us too.
Yeah, this spring is a little different for the Giants than it was last year, of course, not only in the front office, but last year, every day we had someone else getting signed and coming in. This time we go out to the park, and you've been out there, I've been out there, and most of the jobs are sort of spoken for. There's a little bit of competition, but this is one of those camps where we know who everyone is. And, whoa, you're going to be down here next week. We'll talk to you about some of the players. But, Zack, not a lot of competition really in the camp, other than maybe on the pitching side.
Yeah, I think when you look at most teams these days, I do think they go into spring training with pretty good sense of what their 26-man roster is. So I actually think relative to other teams, we may have more competition than others. But we'll see how that pans out. One of the things that we talked about heading into the offseason and free agency was this in particular, the additions in spring training and how we'd really like to be a little bit more aggressive in free agency and get players on board quicker. And it kind of speaks to how aggressive we got with Willie Adames, who we feel fortunate that we were able to add. But that was very early in spring training. And look, when it comes to team building, having a sense of what we have, I think gives us a huge advantage, getting that first block done and trying to build on top of that block. So getting Willie done early was important to us, and something that we recognize is we feel like it's important to our fan base as they get to know our players better and hopefully connect to our players. And I think Willie's the perfect type of player that will connect to our fan base. So definitely something we want to be a little bit more aggressive early in free agency with, and feel fortunate that Willie's a product of that.
Well, you've seen Willie Adames play before. I got to see him here the last 2 or 3 days, doing the infield. The players aren't going to report till next week, but the guys are here taking infield, and I know you'd love it to be here to see it. Well, he's got hands. He's got the shortstop hands. You know what we're looking for, those hands when you get the ball and it's gone. He's got the hands.
He has the hands. He has the feet. He has the bat too, which is really nice at that position, and it strengthens us all around. I just like to take a moment and say I'm excited for Zack. I feel like Zack has been an assistant GM with the club the last 6 years we worked together. We've had many conversations. Being a scouting director, he knows the players inside and out, and it'd really be an easy transition for him. And so I'm excited to have him and Buster in charge, and I'm really looking forward to this spring. And as Zach just said, Willie Adames, you win with pillars in my mind. We have Chapman. You brought in a guy like Verlander, which I know you'll get to, but these guys influence and they make the other players around them better. And, so we have another extremely solid everyday player, an all-star caliber player, and he's going to rub off on everybody because Marty, the first thing I saw was when I was down in camp about 3 weeks ago, and I got to hit him ground balls a couple of days, but everybody's talked about it. The skills are there. We know that. We've seen him play, but the person is going to make everybody, like Zach said. And I know Zach and Buster and the rest of the staff did their due diligence to bring in that type of individual, and it's going to pay a lot of dividends.
Zach, did you have him in Milwaukee? And people should know your background a little bit. You were a big part of the Brewers. Did you have Adames there when you were there?
No. He was traded for in Milwaukee a couple of years actually after I got here. But given the position I was in, not only here and in Milwaukee, had my eye on him for quite some time. In fact, I remember when he was traded from Detroit to Tampa. Way back when. So certainly a player that, and as we look at free agency, and we really want to have a great sense of who these players are, and you start following them, anticipating this may be a fit for us, and being that, for those who don't know, I worked for the Brewers for almost 15 years, and have a lot of friends and people there that I really respect. And watch a lot of their games. I watch a lot of games anyways, but see a lot of their games. And just the effect that he had on their team, obviously both on the field and off the field, was something, as Wo spoke to, was really important to us. And so that's a big reason why we're so excited he's aboard.
Let's talk about him a little bit. Well, the game has changed. Look, he's a big-time hitter. You hit over 30, you can drive in 100, and you kind of hope that he's going to have some numbers like that. But Bo Mel today was talking about the potential lineup, and he's got him hitting second. Is second the spot, Zach, for this is the guy? You'd kind of like to flip the order, and he had Jung Ho Lee hitting third today. And, of course, that created a big stir around the park. But what about the lineup like that?
Yeah, look, the nice thing for me with the lineup is it's going to be up to Bo Mel. And it's definitely something we want him to have the autonomy to put out the lineup he feels comfortable with. He and the coaching staff are going to be the people who are with the players day in and day out, basically minute to minute. Wo's lived it. And, they have a sense of who's going well and who isn't, and who's feeling good and who isn't. It could be anything from a cold to someone didn't take to the long flight as well as someone else. So we're going to lean on Bob and the staff when it comes to putting the lineup together. But I will say, with the players that we have, I think Willie's capable of hitting at the top. I think he's capable of hitting in more of an RBI position. Jung Hoo, I scouted him when he was in Korea, and he hit third every game I saw him. So I don't think that's something that's foreign to him. Definitely think he could hit leadoff. And so having the lineup flexibility, I think, is important. And probably like most things, it'll probably depend on who we're facing and how Bomel feels about that matchup, along with the coaching staff.
Well, how do you feel about a number 2 hitter being, your guy, the one that you're looking for the big hit, like a Jeff Kent or something like that?
Well, one real positive to it is he might get that extra at bat in the 9th inning. I remember when we had Bonds in Kent, and it was always, do you hit Bonds third or in Kent fourth or Kent fourth and Bonds third? And a lot of times when you hit Barry fourth, and there are definitely, in my opinion, more RBIs out there when you hit fourth, especially in the National League when the pitcher was hitting 9th. There's better opportunities for men on base. But a lot of times the game would end with him standing on deck. So that's one plus. The other plus is you're putting a threat up there right away, just not a singles hitter or a guy that's going to shoot the hole. Somebody, if a pitcher makes a mistake, he could take you out of the park, and it's 1 or 2-0. So that puts the pressure on the pitcher. And then here you go, you got a contact hitter behind him, and Jung Hoo is going to put the ball in play. So it sounds good to me. As Zack said, it's up to Bomel on what he feels comfortable with. And we all know it's a game of adjustments. And whatever the lineup is today, I bet you my bottom dollar, it may not be the lineup in August. So we'll see what happens.
All right. The Jung Ho Lee thing is a big story. It's funny. I took a picture of him. He was in the dugout. Matos was there, who actually grew up a little bit. Matos looks more like a man. He's put on a little bit of weight, and he's my guy to click, by the way. He's the one. But so Jung Ho Lee is sitting there. I took a picture of him and put it out on, Twitter, our favorite account. Well, and
that's right.
I took a picture, there's an Adamas picture, someone else. Jung Ho had like 12 times the clicks that everyone else had. That's how popular this guy is. And something, for a guy who, played only until May, 37 games, and hurt his shoulder. And I'll say this to you, you saw him a lot. He's a nice kid, and he loves playing baseball. He's so happy to be at the park.
Yeah, he is. He loves the game. It's not easy for players coming over to America and playing and fitting in. I think he's done it flawlessly. He's got a tremendous sense of humor. He likes to joke around, and it's great to have personalities on the team.
Yeah.
Who was the Asian guy from who played in Toronto, the shortstop that used to get everybody going? You know who it is, Zack.
Kawakami, I believe.
Kawakami, remember that character? No,
Yeah.
Jung Hoo's not like that. Jung Hoo's he's more serious, and he's not looking for attention. But I think the way he plays, the way he runs the ball down, the style of player he is, I think he's going to be one of the most popular players on the team.
Yeah, he is. You can tell right away. And he's happy. So usually, I saw this with Mark Kotze years ago, and I learned this, of course, Zack's been in clubhouses his whole life, and you've been around. For me, it was new, and I didn't know if a player felt good or didn't feel good. And I could tell now by looking at the guy. If the guy smiles and looks like he's comfortable, he's usually feeling okay. And I saw Mark Kotze, who always had back trouble. And, the guy had a scowl on his face all the time. And I didn't have to ask him how he felt. This kid who went through an injury is very happy. So I think that's a good sign. All right. Zack Minasian here. Woe is here. Questions come in. The first one, and we've had this all winter long, Luciano. And Zack, throw this at you first. The guy wants to know why you didn't play the guy at first base over the winter. They give him another position because now he's coming in trying to get at bats and be maybe a left fielder.
Yeah, no, it's a fair question. It's something that's come up, and Woe can speak to this as well. Playing on the dirt, it's very difficult, And we actually felt maybe Lucy going to the outfield would alleviate some of that pressure, maybe make him a little bit more comfortable, let his athleticism take over a little bit in left field, where it's more kind of the foot speed and the arm strength, and hopefully taking some of that pressure off can let him realize some of that bat potential. And I saw Lucy when he was 15 years old in the Dominican, and my comp on him at the time was Alfonso Soriano. And Soriano was obviously a very talented player who ended up going from the infield to left field, had a great career, hit homers, and that's what we're hoping this does for Lucy. So, it's not to say that left field's easy, because it's not, but we felt like his skill set and tools would translate a little bit better to left field than anywhere on the infield.
All right. Well, first base for Luciano, that's the question. Did that ever cross your mind for him?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the number one thing, and what Zack kind of alluded to, is, Lucy, whatever position he plays, he's going to have to hit. And due to injuries, mostly, he hasn't put together that offensive year that he needs to put together. And long term, I think he'd have an easier opportunity to fit on a ball club in left field if he hits with the potential that he has. I mean, at first base, you have to be an absolute monster, right? So I think giving him a shot out there, getting him off the dirt, giving him an opportunity to see what he could do. But, it's in flux. You don't know where this kid will end up. And I will say one thing, if first base is a very difficult position because there's a lot going on, but you don't have the pitchers hitting today. You don't have bunt plays going, stuff like that you have to be more aware of. So, if he hits the way he can, and he's not the outfielder you're looking for, he very well could move to first. So I think it's a good question, but I think the bat's the number one thing. And to Zach's point, let's give him a fresh start and see what he can do.
Yeah, I love the bat. I felt even with Ramos last year, I felt that bat speed was there. It was just a question of it happening. And I see that with Luciano. That bat speed is there. It's just a question of connecting and putting it together. Zack, what about the outfield competition? A guy wants to know, you got Matos, McRae, who probably is the most talented I've seen out there. He's got everything. And the Mecklemator. I saw him. He's around. So how do these guys fit in? Because you got Yaz, you got Team Ho, and you got Ramos.
Yeah, the interesting thing about the three is just such a different skill set. McRae's a left-handed hitter plus defender. Meckler's more spray the ball, left-handed hitter, control the strike zone. Matos a little bit more aggressive, a right-handed hitter, flash some power, gap to gap. So, a lot of it I think will come down to how they fit off of the other outfielders. And look, we're sitting here on February 13th, and a lot of time to figure this out. And another player I don't want us to sleep on is Gerard Encarnacion.
Yeah.
I think the staff was really excited about what he flashed last year. I think he's a better defender in the corners than maybe what he looks at first sight, because he is a physical presence. So excited about him getting some reps out there too. But I'm really looking forward to the competition of all those players, because I think they both bring their own skill sets that could be really helpful.
Well, they'll all be in the big leagues, at some point. It's just a question. That's why you have options and all that kind of stuff. Well, and Encarnacion, we talked about him last year. For me, he's Rico Cardi. Give him where is the bat for the big boy? Just give him the bat and let him swing it. And he's got that look to him.
Yeah, he does. I mean, when he came over here to Sacramento, when he first joined the club over here, I got to see him up there, and everybody was raving about him. And, he didn't miss a beat coming over to the Giant organization, ended up going to the big leagues and did a great job for Bo Mel. First base, outfield, got a good arm, runs better than when you look at him, you don't think he moves that well because he's a big guy, but he moves really, really well. And another player I think that you have to pull for because he works his tail off. He plays with a smile on his face. He's willing to sacrifice anything for the team. He'll go wherever you want him, and he gives you a darn good at bat. The thing I love most about him is, and you don't see a lot of players like this today, he uses right field. Right, he waits on the ball. He's not out in front all the time, flailing at the break and stuff. He stays back and he'll hit the ball down the right field line, use that right center field gap as good as anybody.
Yeah. What about VR? Well, where does he fit into this? Is he still?
Yeah, I mean, he's out of options, so he has to make the team. Otherwise, he gets exposed to the other 29 clubs, and it's another player that I think we've seen him flash the bat potential. With our DH spot wide open, there's opportunity for him and other players if they step up. And Buster's talked about wanting to have a spring training that has competition, so it's there, and it's just going to be up to guys to step up. And I had a mentor tell me, if you watch players long enough, they'll tell you who they are. And that's my plan, just with the decisions we have to make, just try and keep my eyes and ears open and see what we got at the end of spring.
Yeah, well, I've quoted you. It's the athleticism will show at some point. That's what. Remember, you said that about Crawford. I remember that.
Well, he was a darn good one, as it turned out, the greatest shortstop in San Francisco Giant history. But back to David, I'm pulling for him a little bit. He's another one that he approaches a game like a bull. He gives you his best bolt. Had a little bit of a down year. We tried to play him at second base in the past. Probably wasn't his. I know it's not his position. You start bouncing around. You get a little confused. You go in a little slump, and things can steamroll on you in this game. Then you get sent out. You don't get an opportunity to play. You get sent back to the minor leagues. That's the toughest thing, Marty, and Zack knows for these guys. I did it. I got sent to AAA a lot. And, after it happens 4 or 5 times, it could take the stuffing out of you sometimes. But, David kept his head above water, and he's going to keep fighting for a job. And the beauty of it is there is competition this year, I think, on this club. We know he has some real bat potential, and if it doesn't break with the Giants, he has to open somebody else's eyes. And look, I mean, how many times you go into spring training, you may have too many guys, and there's a trade, and everybody's happy. So we'll see what happens. But I'm pulling for David to have a really good spring.
Yeah, Verlander, Zack, I'm curious, what did you see? And now, look, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's 38 wins away from 300. We've gone through this Randy Johnson woe. You remember he was here.
Oh, yeah.
I remember in the 80s, Carlton was here. But what did you see about Verlander physically that makes you think the neck and shoulder and all that will last at least, for part of the season?
Yeah, I think, I think when it comes to the physical part with the medical, obviously, I have a lot of faith in our medical staff. I think Dave Gresher and his crew are as good as it gets. I think my comfort came from Buster's conversation with Justin. And, this is someone who's going to be in the Hall of Fame. And there's no need for him to give any lip service. And Buster's pretty direct and to the point as well. So JV's desired to keep going. And I think he has some personal goals he's hoping that he can reach. Talking with some of our people in the office, they still felt like the stuff was flashing pretty good, the raw stuff on the mound. And look, I think we're at a point in spring training, and I think JV came out and said this, we're actually trying to slow him down because he feels so good. So we're really excited about what he's shown. And look, obviously, this is someone who's going to bring so much more than what he does on the mound. We're fully expecting to be a big part of this club and competing on the field. But even just 2 days ago, I walk into our dining area, and there he is sitting with Webb, Ray. I think there were 2 other pitchers, and he's talking about a playoff appearance coming out of the bullpen. And then today I noticed, we start bullpens at, I want to say 10:35 in the morning here, and I see JV back there, and he's watching Tristan back, and Then I look and it's probably 45 minutes later and he's still back there, watching his teammates throw. And I actually think Kai Wei Tang took a selfie with him and posted it on Instagram today. So, but I think that experience, just my history growing up in the clubhouse and just seeing how much players can learn from other players, especially someone of this stature, I just think it's huge. It's invaluable. It's tough to gauge just how valuable it is. There's no way to quantify it. So he brings a lot to the club, obviously. But last year still felt like there was some raw stuff that was intriguing for us, and he feels great.
Well, he got number 35 from Crawford. Craw gave it up and made a whole statement about it, and Verlander took 35. And, usually you get a Rolex. Well, did you ever get a Rolex for giving up your number from anybody?
Well, you know what? I did one time. I gave up my number 6 times, and I got a Rolex one time. But one time I got $500 from Nefi Perez about 20 years ago.
Who gave you the Rolex?
Nori Aoki. The
Oh,
respectful, yeah, Nori Aoki. What a good guy he was. Usually Murph, usually the players never ask me because Murph, I'd get a call in the winter and we sign a free agent, whether it was Hudson or Huff or somebody, and Murph would go, I got good news and bad news. And I said, oh, yeah, Murph, I'm talking about Mike Murphy, our old clubhouse guy for your listeners. He goes, well, we just signed Tim Hudson. I said, oh, that's fantastic. He goes, the bad news, I gave him your number. So Murph would just give my number away. So I didn't have an opportunity all the time to get, the Rolex like people do. So anyways, Nori was very, very good to me.
Yeah. So he got 35 and it's a big number in Giants history. Now, of course, this is me talking. Well, you know that Don Drysdale wore 53 for the Dodgers and he wore it because he wanted the reverse of 35. Why? Because number 35 of the old New York Giants was Sal Magley. And Sal Magley was known as the barber because he would throw the ball right under your chin and he would take the whiskers right off. And he was a big pitcher for the Giants in the 50s. And he was the toughest guy ever, Sal Magley. The day of the game, he never shaved, that kind of stuff. Well, if you remember Drysdale's career, Drysdale was a guy to knock you down. Remember, Willie Mays would say, look, I'd get up there and I'd tell Drysdale, all right, knock me down the first pitch, please. Would you? Let's get it over with now. So that's why Drysdale took 53. It was the reverse of Magley because Drysdale was a Dodger, of course. So Verlander has 35. And not that he cares, but it's a very big number in Giants history. And of course, well, only I know this. You know that.
Well, I was just going to say, we're going to miss these stories on KMBR. I mean, you'll be on there, but you have so many. And I'm glad you broke one out tonight because we got plenty of time in this conversation. So nice going, Marty. Only you know all this.
Marty, who's really excited about Verlander taking 35 is our clubhouse manager, Brad Grems, because he's running out of numbers. I think the Giants have more retired numbers than any team in baseball besides the Yankees. So talking to Brad and the amount of players that we bring into spring training these days and staff, I think he was excited that he was able to use Craw's number, obviously with Craw's blessing.
Oh, good. By the way, Gresh today, I told Gresh you were on the show tonight and that you're coming in next week. And he said they're locking the doors. So whatever that means.
Tell him I slipped going downstairs yesterday and I strained my quad. Tell him so. I'll see him as soon as I come in. He'll get a kick out of that.
Yeah. Now he says once you show up, they're locking the doors. So that's
yeah. Come on. I don't even go in there.
That's the deal. Catchers. Murphy, of course, so the last year was a wasted year, unfortunately for him. He is here. The other guy is the greatest name ever, and that's Sam Huff, who for me is still the middle linebacker for the New York Giants, tackling Jimmy Brown. But he's a big kid. I was watching him hit today. Whoa, there's some bat there. And then the other one is Stassi, another kid who's got something in the bat. So is his job at stake here? Because look, he's got a contract, and I realize that means something, but these other people look like they can handle it.
Yeah, we wanted to build as much depth there as possible, but definitely, coming into spring training, expecting and hopeful that that Tom's the backup. But yeah, Marty, I mean, Sam Huff was a top 100 prospect at one point. There's
Yeah,
bat
the Rangers.
potential. I really enjoy watching Stassi catch bullpens. He's just so quiet. His hands are so soft. He makes pitchers feel very comfortable. And so it's look, like everything else, we're trying to create competition, and I hope these guys make it really hard on the front office. I really do. But going in, I still think how we envisioned Tom Murphy a year ago as a right-handed hitting complement to Patty Bailey can work really well, and hopeful that works out that way.
What was interesting, a couple of days ago, Bob Melvin was talking about Bailey, and Zach, you know this, and he said, look, we just want Bailey to catch, basically. We don't want him to wear down and, whatever, 4 for 96 in August. We just want him to catch, but we've always thought Bailey should hit a little bit more. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think he's, pointing to the fact that his real strength is his receiving ability and catching ability and handling the pitching staff. The pitchers like throwing to him, but I'm sure he wants him to hit as well. But everybody wants him to stay strong throughout the season. It's a grind. It's a grind back there for those catchers. So, Buster knows better than anybody. You're going to have to, give him the days off and make sure you keep him strong. And he's hopefully came in tremendous shape because it's a learning experience. I mean, your first 2 years in the big leagues is a tremendous learning experience, and you learn how to get through it. It takes time. So, to the other catchers like Zack, I love what we did bringing in some of these ex-big leaguers to give us depth. I mean, it's such an important position on the field. And if you run through some injuries, you don't want to have to call up a kid from AA, and have Verlander throwing to these, all these pitchers, and our young pitchers throwing to a catcher that's younger than them, probably more important. Verlander probably could throw to anybody, right? But we have a lot of young pitchers, and it's real important to have quality catchers in the system.
Zach, are you getting calls on? Eldridge, of course, is untouchable, but Tibbs is behind them, and you got other couple of names in there. Do you get calls still now? It is spring training. You got a lot of pitchers, and you got a lot of sort of the same guy.
You'll still get some check-ins, but definitely the volume of calls is way down. But yeah, I mean, I was just challenging the front office today. Hey, we just have to be prepared and stay open-minded and be organized and just continue to do our due diligence, just because you never know. You have an injury with another club, and they may call. So things can change. Things can change quickly. It's not something that I'm expecting, but you try and stay prepared for it, just in case something comes your way that gets caused by something else.
Yeah, St. Louis, just to talk about it, we do this on the air. St. Louis is, I want to say, dying to give Arenado away. Please, would someone please take Arenado? He's still out there, and they're dying to play Gorman at third and Burleson at first, and they have all these kids to play. How about Arenado still sitting out there? And Bregman, of course, is a Red Sox today, which really helps them quite a bit. But Arenado's still out there. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, he's had a great career. We're fortunate to have Matt Chapman. He had a great year. We obviously signed him to a long-term deal, and really happy to have him at that position. And it's tough in these positions. We can only say so much about players contracted with other clubs, and you don't know too much about other teams' conversations or where they're at. I think St. Louis has made it clear that they want to go with a youth movement, and it was interesting coming over here in 19 and just kind of hearing about Arenado and Goldschmidt in particular. I did not quite know the impact they had when they would face the Giants. So I learned very quickly that these two were Giants killers. So, a lot of respect for his career, and we'll see if he ends up getting moved or not. What I read today publicly was that St. Louis was planning on going into the season with him on their club.
Yeah. Goldschmidt, where did he end up with the Yankees? Is that
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, I told Lincecum, I said, just roll the ball into him. Don't even
kidding.
remember that? Come on, the
Oh.
guy. Lincecum.
Do I remember it, Marty? Look, so before, people were playing the 5-man outfield, and before the shifts started really getting, more popular, I won when Timmy was facing him, and you got a 1-run lead in the 9th with nobody on or a man on first. I wanted to put the second baseman in right center, because if he split that gap like he did so many times, that's a run. You're playing no doubles. You don't need a second baseman, right? If he takes a single, it's a win. But in his prime, him and, as Zack alluded to it, Arenado, a couple of giant killers and first-class individuals. So I hope Arenado signs somewhere other than our division. As much as I like to watch him play, I don't want to see him at the plate very often. And I'm glad goalie's in New York.
I was hoping that, we can talk about it. I was hoping Alonso would come here. But there's reasons why I'm sure you guys were not going to do that. But I want to see him go to the American League. Get him out of the National League. Get him in Toronto. It's a 51st state anyway. He'll enjoy playing there, So now, because it makes the Mets like the Dodgers of the East. You know what I mean? The Mets are loading up. Now you got to deal with them.
Yeah, I mean, look, you kind of welcome the competition. I think to be in these jobs, you have to. And it's one of the things that I admired being on the other side, facing the Giants 10, 12, 14. I think Will would be the first to tell you, they may have not been the most talented team in the game, but they competed their butts off and, resulted in 3 World Series. So, it was 162 games, regardless of what the roster is. We're going to go out and try and win every one of them. So, it's fun to compete, and I think it's why we all do this.
Well, what was that? What was that park all about in Milwaukee? Why was it? Why did Posey just walk in there and just hit that batter's eye with line drive after line drive? Why? What makes that park such a hitter's park?
It's a great place to hit. I would hear that the batter's eye was really good at night, and then there seemed to be a jet stream, especially to center field and right center field. We'd close that dome and maybe have the windows open, and it sounds like the wind would kind of bounce off behind home plate and shoot out to right center field. But it was a great place to hit, and it was one of the things I talked about coming here, having spent all of my time in Texas, ballpark in Arlington, and then Milwaukee, Miller Park at the time, 2 big-time hitters parks, and then coming to Oracle Park, which is obviously a pitcher's park, and just trying to adjust a little bit of, kind of the team building aspect of that, because you want to take as many, utilize your strengths and build a team that suits your ballpark. You play half your games there, and it's one of the big reasons why obviously Buster's talked about it a lot. I have too, and this organization's won on pitching and defense, and I think it's got to be our foundation going forward.
Yeah, well, I'll ask this to both you guys, and we get these questions all the time. Why didn't you make more moves over the winter? You've got players, on the edge, and they may bust through and become stars. But why didn't you make more moves over the winter?
Yeah, look, I think it's a very fair question, and usually it's going to be because you like some of the players that you have. So when we look at our pitching, especially the younger pitching, pretty excited about that group. And, one of the things that, I don't want it to be lost is, Matt Chapman, we signed in September. It's a 5-year deal. There's a lot of money, and we're happy to do it. So maybe it doesn't count as an off-season move, but I can promise you when you're building the roster, it's a move that we made, and it's obviously a big one. So when I look at, Chapman in the fold long term, adding Adamas, and then also relative to last year's team, we didn't have Jung-Hoo Lee for the entire season, so him being back is different, than what we had last year. And then you look at guys like Fitzgerald and Ramos; they didn't start the year with the team, so the team changed a lot over the course of the season, and we want to be an organization that is building from within, and we want to give opportunity to our young homegrown players, and it's not just giving them an opportunity, but I think they've earned the opportunity. So Ramos, Fitzgerald, guys like McCray, Meckler, Matos, we've talked about, Harrison, Birdsong, Roop. We've got the three Carsons, Ragsdale, Seymour, Wisenhunt, Mason Black. Like someone like Keaton Wynn doesn't get talked about a lot, and he finished 23 really strong. He started 24 strong, unfortunately got hurt. So a lot of those players we're excited about, and we want to give them an opportunity.
All right. Well, as I always say, you're a GM. Are you itching to make a trade? Whoa, he's made some of the best trades in the history of baseball with CeCe Sabathia and Josh Hader and all that stuff. You got to be itching. Come on, to say, all right, let's make a deal.
Yeah, I think you're always looking for an opportunity, without a doubt. And it's just it can be really tough to match up. And I had someone tell me once, it's never the wrong time to make the right trade, and it's never the right time to make the wrong trade.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be, I think, irresponsible with the moves that you make, but you check in with every team. We talk internally. How does this fit for us? How does this fit for the other team? In my mind, if you can't put yourself in their shoes and be able to answer questions that would come about in a press conference, you probably don't have a realistic trade. All right. And but I think Buster's been very vocal. I've kind of joked he's not in this job for the money, and he's not in it for the fame. He's in it because he loves the Giants and he wants to see us win. And look, if that comes down to having to trade prospects, then we're just going to be open-minded to it and see where it takes us.
All right. I'm waiting for the first big trade. I'm going to call me first. I want to be the guy.
Sounds good.
I want to be the Jeff Passan of your first trade. Really.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Kershaw's back. Whoa, your favorite pitcher. Zack, you don't know.
Yeah.
Whoa actually had an incident with Kershaw. It's spring training.
Remember.
Yeah. So Kershaw's back. He's back. Scherzer is here with Toronto. Verlander's here at San Francisco. Who knows if it's the last year for these guys? That would be a heck of a Hall of Fame class.
Yeah, you know what? Those guys, you love watching them pitch. I have an awful lot of respect for Kershaw and what he's done. Hey, talk about a fierce competitor. I mean, it was a spring training game. He was hitting us right and left just to make a statement, right? And that's when we, had some words. But, that's how you play the game. You play to win. You play to beat the other guy. And that mentality, when your club gets that, and, it rubs off. And we have people now in this organization, I believe, with that mentality. And, we had it, you mentioned 10, 12, 14. If one thing we had that mentality, and it goes a long way. So, we'll see what Kershaw does this year. And of course, Max, as great a pitcher he's been, we fared okay against him over the years for one reason or another. It's like we used to face Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling in Arizona, that 1-2 punch when they were in their prime. And we seem to do okay against them too. So, you can't play the game on paper. It's the individuals you have on the field. And that's what's so exciting about the new year. You mentioned all the young guys we have. And I know Zack may feel the same way as I do. These guys have come through the system pretty quick. And if they're getting an opportunity to show what they can do, and, look, it's tough to project. Zack, no, he's being a scout. I don't know how he did it for all these years. If you don't know the animal, if you don't work with the player, how do you project who's going to get the job done? But these players, we know they're in our system, and it's going to be fun to see who takes it to the next level. and becomes the guy you're looking for. We think a lot of them have an opportunity to do it. So I'm excited to watch this spring.
Yeah, well, that's what spring training's all about. Everyone looks good, everyone feels good, and no one's lost a game yet. And that's why we love it. I'm telling you, well, when you get here, you'll see it. There's a good attitude. There's a good vibe around. Guys are feeling good, and I think that's very important, especially
Great.
for the young guys. Zach, you rattled off the pitching that was on my list for you. You got Beck and Jelly, and you got Group, who really look good. I think he still throws too many curveballs, but you got guys who can make the team here. You got a lot of guys.
Yeah. I mean, Randy Rodriguez is another one. I mean, there's a lot of good arms, and I look at Kyle Harrison, and look, the game's very tough, and you talk about young starting pitchers breaking in, to think back to what Lincecum, Kane, Bumgarner did earlier in their careers. You just don't see that. The natural, I think, maturation of most young starters is they're going to have to take their licks there, the first 150 innings of their career. And for Kyle, even just getting the innings alone was really important for him, and him learning kind of what he needs to do physically, mentally, so on and so forth. So the experience that a lot of these guys got last year, I think is huge, and hopefully we'll see dividends this year. But, and I've said this already, we've talked about it time and time again. San Francisco Giants historically as a franchise, if they've pitched and they've won because they can pitch, and we still feel the same way that we're going to have to pitch really well, and if these guys mature like we think they can, we're going to be in a really good spot with a lot of good starting pitching, and some of those guys can go to the bullpen and be good pen guys as well. So
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get something out of this group. They're surely talented enough.
Yeah, look, it's pitching and defense. Right? We've talked about it, and you've preached about winning in this ballpark, developing a team that can win in this ballpark.
Well, good pitching gets good hitting out. I mean, these good pitchers, when you're in the playoffs and playing these meaningful games, and you're facing really good pitching, they're not throwing the ball right down the middle, right? I mean, you have to grind at bats, and it's not easy. So if you could be the team with the pitching that's making it tough on the offense, because you know what, even when you have a tremendous offense, sometimes guys hit the ball, right at somebody, right? It's hard to. It's my experience anyways, being in the National League my whole life. And of course, now it's not National League American, but with the pitcher hitting, that's the way the game was played. You played good fundamental baseball. You pitched, you didn't beat yourself, you caught the ball, and you try to create a run. Joe Panic with a hit and run, a suicide squeeze, not a safety, none of this safety. We put it on the line and we'd suicide squeeze, right? And that was fun.
Drove Flan out of the game.
That's right. Well, what drove him out of the game is when he went to his daughter's graduation, and I got to coach third base. And he was in San Diego listening to the game because the graduation wasn't going on. And I'm coaching. I'm excited because I've been bench coaching for all these years. I get to go back out to third, and Manny Burris gets to third base with Benji Molina up. Okay. Now, Benji's up. He's our cleanup hitter. And Manny starts like a false break home. And I said, Manny, knock it. Stay right here. Let him hit. Stay right here. Next pitch, Manny takes off. He tries to steal home. He's out with our cleanup hitter on. And the announcer goes, oh, my goodness. What did Flannery do? Why did he send Burris? And Flan's yelling at me. He's going, I'm not even there, and I'm getting blamed for this. So that's Tim Flannery's story for you.
I love it. All right, we got to let Zach go. Zach, you got to answer the question. What do you do at 4:30 at the ballpark? What are you doing?
Well, I have a bit of a spring training routine that started a long time ago. My father ran the clubhouse for the Rangers, and
Right.
My brothers and I would go to spring training every year. And look, my dad left the hotel at 4:30, and if you were not in the car at 4:30, you were not getting there until game time with my mom. So it was the earliest. We were opening up the clubhouse, but we loved every second of it. And, I think every spring, every day I'm kind of anxious to get to the ballpark and just kind of soak in the day. And for me now, my little routine involves a nice little morning workout where I can, to some extent, zen out and just kind of collect my thoughts for the day. And look, it's regardless of role. Woe saw me, whether I was running pro scouting or in this role, just trying to have a routine seems to help. And this is the one time of year where our schedule is pretty much the same every day. Yeah. So you can get in a pretty good routine, and, be organized. And so, yeah, I'm usually in my office, just reading through articles and reading through player updates. And our other departments are firing in a lot of information every day, whether it's amateur scouting, international scouting, our medical department, so on and so forth. So you're trying to keep up with the rest of the organization that isn't here in Arizona over the course of the spring. But I absolutely love it, and probably more than anything, I like going in there so early just because I love being at the ballpark.
Well, I'll say that he's a baseball guy. We needed a baseball guy.
Maybe it's a curse. Well, I don't know. What do you think?
It's not a curse. I'm right there with you, pal. No, I'm excited. I think it's a great combo with Buster and Zack. I think Buster knew he wanted, someone that's been in player development and scouting and understands player, and he's a real good one. And I'm so happy that we have the leadership that we have. And as I said, I'm excited to get going.
Yep. It's good. Good attitude. All right, Zack, we'll let you go because it's almost 4:30. So, but thanks for coming on. And fans have all the questions, and it's good to answer them. It really is. It really is. And I think you answered a lot of them tonight. And so we'll see. I'm anxious to see Verlander, truthfully.
Yeah,
to see him.
I'm anxious to see all of them. Just as soon as we get here, you're anxious for workouts, then you get anxious for games, and I'm kind of already there, and I'm excited, and just as much as Woe said, he's excited for the leadership. I feel fortunate to be with this organization and people like Woe, and what the Giants mean. I don't know to the city, but to Major League Baseball. It's one of the premier franchises in the game, and a lot of success. And I feel very fortunate and just really looking forward to games starting here and then getting to the season.
Well, and plus you're in the dugout talking ball, which I like. And that's a big part of being a baseball guy, because we all like to talk ball.
Yeah.
And you're down there doing it, which is cool. And that's good. And just don't let Perry dump a 40-year-old on you. You know what I mean? When Canley, don't let him call you on Canley Jansen, in 2 months.
I won't put anything past them.
All right. Be well, and I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks,
I'll see you
guys.
tomorrow.
Marty, I'll see you tomorrow, and Will, looking forward to you getting here.
All right.
Same here. See you soon.
All right. Thanks,
all right.
guys.
Thanks, Zack. Thank you. Okay. That's good. All right. That was fun, Will.
Yeah. And you know what, Marty? The show's moving along. I love what you have going here. I haven't heard you on the YouTube since your first show. So it's really coming together. You're having some great guests, obviously. I mean, I saw the people you had on there, and I'm glad you got a voice. I'm glad you got a voice out there, because nobody does it better than you, Marty. And it's looking good.
I appreciate it. I love this. We're going to do this during the year. Larry Kruger already said he wants me to do a Sunday show, wrapping up the week or something like that. But I'd like to do something midweek, just to check in with everybody like this, which is cool.
Great perspective as always.
Couple of things. One, our good friend Rick Robin, Rick.
Yeah, sure.
Construction up in Napa. He's a sponsor of this show, and he and Tammy sponsor the show. So we always play a little spot about Rick. You'll enjoy hearing his voice. So Ryan, our producer, let's hear Rick Robin.
It's been a pleasure working with Rick Robin this year. Rick Robin, ROBBEN, NapaConstruction.com. Rick, the last time you were on with us, you told us about kitchen and bath remodeling, but there's a lot more going on up in your area.
Yes, there is. ADUs, auxiliary dwelling units, which are known as granny units. We can do your existing garage, attached garage, even building a new unit in the back. And so what we do is come out, bring our architect out there. Such a great thing. No sewer hookup fees, no water hookup fees. So that's what we do.
Rick, how does one start the process with you? How does one get in touch with you?
Oh, you call Tammy, 707-332-7575, 7 days a week.
Rick Robin, ConstructionNapa.com. Rick, the thing I like about this, no problem for me. You come out with the plans, the permits, everything is in-house, no fees, and you get a new unit that you can rent out and get money back on your investment right away. I like it, Rick.
Thanks, Marty. Love talking to you.
Rick Robin, ConstructionNapa.com.
Yeah, that's my kind of guy. He does all the work.
You know what? He did all the work for me. I actually used Rick, and as you said, it was seamless. We new floors, new kitchen. He did the whole thing for us and did a great job. So, I may be calling him again. I got some updating to do.
Yeah, we're going to see him down here in spring training. He'll be down here about 10 days. Yeah. The other one I'm here to talk about my good friends at Georgie Brothers, the largest family-owned furniture store in the entire Bay Area. Right now, and good through March the 17th, you can save hundreds of dollars on my favorite line of furniture, which is stressless. Well, I've got like 5 of these chairs, and you just lean back. It moves a little bit. You got the ottoman and the whole thing, and you just sit down and you get up. You sit down in October, you get up in January. It's that kind of thing. So they've got a big sale, stressless furniture. It's at Georgie Brothers, GIORGIBROS.com. And remember, tell them that I sent you. So that's that. Spoke to Colleen at River Islands. So much going on there. Well, we'll catch up with that the next time. But the high school is opening. The elementary schools are there. There's more of the town center coming about. And it's just incredible what they're doing.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Obviously we've been close with them for a long, long time. So I'm looking forward to getting the update. I haven't heard much over the winter months, but I do have to ask you a question, Marty. Where are Georgie Brothers at? I've heard their name here in the Bay Area, obviously sponsoring your shows, but do you know where their location is?
Yeah, South San Francisco. If you're on 101 heading south, just get off at the Grand Avenue exit. And then it's a right and a left, and it's like on Baden Avenue. But a beautiful showroom. I mean, and I've gotten beds from them, couches. Evan down in LA has gotten stuff. Bonnie has gotten stuff. Aaron has gotten stuff. So it's a family-owned business, and they just take care of you. They're good people.
That's great. Yeah.
They're good people. Well, it's been interesting for me being out there for a couple of days, just seeing, getting used to it. And the vibe, is different. There's something about the vibe. I don't want to say it's more baseball, but it's just more relaxed in a way. I don't know. There's something about it.
Well, that always happens when you have new leadership, whether it's a new manager coming in, new general manager, president, and, the interaction with people and how you go about things. So I'm happy to hear the vibe is good. I expect it to be good. I mean, Zack and Buster have always treated people very respectfully, and with the players we have there, we have a good group, as I was saying, with the young guys and mix of veterans, some real pillars in Verlander. Chapman, of course, started us signing him last year, and Adames, and, the list goes on and on. So it's a good group. I'm glad it's a good vibe, and we just want to stay healthy in the spring, get everybody in shape, and get out of there with the best roster we can.
Yeah, it would be interesting. He did say Wade. We haven't seen him yet, but he said Wade worked out all winter. He ran a lot. His legs are in great shape. He's very enthusiastic, good attitude, and so he's going to play first. And they're talking about hitting him first, and maybe Adames second, Lee third. The way Bob was talking today about the lineup, just about anything can go, and people can play anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we'll have more stability, but that's always a good way to go. Left, right, left, right. It makes it
Amen.
harder on the opposing manager. Pitchers got to face three hitters now. You can't make moves like Felipe used to, bring 7 pitchers in one inning, right, to get the righty, the lefty, the righty, the lefty. So it's a good way to go. I've talked to Lamont, one time. He'll be ready to go, and expect a big year for him. I think it's either arbitration or free agent year for him. And first base is going to be important with him and Flores. And of course, you got VR in the mix and Encarnacion. But Flo being injured, coming back, a professional hitter. So there'll be a lot to watch there at first base.
Yeah, they need him, because look,
Yeah.
watch the infield. Matty Williams was hitting balls today. Mark was there. And, there's Chapman at third and Adames at short and Schmidt and Wisely were at second today. And, boy, I'll tell you, that Schmidt, what a glove. What a glove on that guy and that arm. Well, can this guy be second? I mean, can he be if he could hit, I'd make him the second baseman.
Well, he can play anywhere in the field. I mean, he played that utility role last year, but look, he was a third baseman, didn't have a lot of experience at second or short. And because he's got such great hands and a strong, accurate arm, he's got the ability to do it. But, when you get to the big leagues before you're ready, it's not easy to handle a job playing part-time and moving from position to position because there's cutoff and relays. There's a lot going on. He's a year older. I'm glad you brought him up in Wisely because don't sleep on those two guys.
No.
They're going to be in the mix. And I believe Schmidt could be, third base is his best position, but he could be a darn good second baseman. And then, of course, shortstop would be the last one. But he can dive to his left. He can go up the middle with that strong arm, and he can turn a double play because he's got such good hands. So he can be an outstanding second baseman, and he's been working hard at it. So I think you're going to see a much improved defender at second base.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you had to watch this today. You'll see it. I mean, you'll love this when you're down here. They hit a ball to third, and this guy just gobbles up everything, at third. And Adames has got the hands. He's got the quick hands, very comfortable. And then you put Schmidt at second with Wisely, and Lamont's not even here yet. I think they ought to sign JT Snow and put him at first, but
he's going to be in camp, so he'll be in spring training.
He's already tweeted at me or texted me about stuff I said or something. I don't know.
Okay, well, let's see if you can get him in the lineup. You like to hang out with those managers, Art Howe and Maka and all the managers you spend time with. Maybe you can work on Bo Mel and get JT a start.
Yeah, well, Bo Mel talked about Petit today. That he's here talking to Duvall. He likes Petit a lot. He thinks Petit could become a real good coach.
I do too. Look, I mean, he's quiet. He's confident. He has all the makings of a great coach. He got the most out of what he had. Here's a guy that basically pitched with his fastball in an era where, everybody's throwing at least two pitches. And, he threw long relief and he started. Usually you have 3 pitches that you're using or 4. So, love Petit, what he brings. He was great here. Bo Mel loved him, and he had a nice career for himself.
Come on, in Washington? Come on, how about that?
Yeah, that was unbelievable. That was one of the most stressful games I was ever involved in because when you're on the road and you don't have the last at bats and it's a playoff game, every time the Nationals came up, one swing of the bat, you're going, it's the game's over. And now you're in a hole. So to do that, what did we go? 9 times, 8 times, 9 times that we could have lost, and then Belt hit the homer, but we wouldn't have done it without Petit and that performance that he gave us.
Yeah. And he almost had the perfect game.
Yeah, that came down to the 9th inning. Was it 2 outs?
2 outs. Chavez had 2 out, blooped one in front of Pence in right field. It was a hit.
What a shame. Yeah, it was a hit all the way, but what a shame, huh? It's so hard for those milestones, the Canes' perfect game and the no-hitters, and you're right. Yasmero was right there with that no-hitter, and that broke my heart when that blue pit fell in.
Yeah, you're going to have fun with these guys. There's a whole bunch of them coming, and it's going to be like a reunion for you.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know all of them. We've worked together, and it's always great to reconnect with past players and coaches and people. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm glad they're all coming in.
Hey, the Yankees did this for years. A guy would go to spring training. There was Mantle, there was Whitey Ford, there was Yogi, and all that, and they loved it. And so why not? I think I'm glad, but Buster's doing some good things.
Yeah, and it's he sure is. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but the timing is right. Look, we've lost our Hall of Famers, right? And those guys used to be around all the time, and we're all sad to see them all go. So I think it's a great time to bring in some of the great players for the San Francisco Giants and let the fans get to see them again and have them help our players. So it's a great thing.
Yeah, it's cool. Joe Paznansky, I'll let you go with this one. Puts out a column every day, and he did a thing on intentional walks, and he wanted to know who hit the most home runs without getting an intentional walk in a season. Now, most people think it's Roger Maris, I guess, but without getting an intentional walk. Okay.
Okay.
It's Marcus Semien at 45 home runs in 2021 without a single intentional walk. I imagine hitting ahead of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for much of the year had something to do with it.
Absolutely. I was going to ask who was hitting behind him, right? I mean,
really.
but that's a tremendous stat. What a good player he is too, huh?
Yeah, and who's the pitcher who gave up the most intentional walks? Greg Maddux.
Really?
If he didn't want to pitch to you, put him on. I'll get the next guy.
No kidding. And he did. He did that little dead fish or that sinker, and they roll it over, and he'd get a double play. Yeah. Yeah, I like seeing him on Instagram, Marty. He puts some good stuff out on Instagram. Greg Maddux does, talking about
very
pitching.
good.
Yeah.
All right, this was fun. I'm really happy to have you on. I look forward to seeing you, and we'll do more of this. This is good.
All right. Well, we'll see you early next week. Great seeing you again, and really enjoyed the show. Thanks for having Marty. Look forward to seeing you down there.
All right. Thanks, Will. All right. Have a good night.
You too.
All right. All right, Ryan. There we go.